Is there anything you particularly want to talk about?
Whatever is into you. I don't know. I mean, it's all kind of boring to me because it's me.
Sure.
But something that I would love to talk about, anything you want to talk about, we're good to go.
Cool. Brilliant. I mean, we could just sort of dive in, and I could sort of edit like a start to it just after. But I noticed just doing a bit of reading about you that you've done a lot of things. You've been in lots of things. You've been involved in lots of different things. So I guess the first question would be, how did you want to be involved in acting, in producing, directing it? You directed your first short film. How did you start?
That's always the question, and it's a good question. Well, because it's hard for me to pick one, clearly. I've always been an actor. That's like my dream and what I love and who I feel like I am. Like my identity is I'm an actor. And I did a lot of that growing up. And then I did a lot of that when I graduated college in bigger things. But I also did stand-up comedy for a long time. And so because of that, and because I'm a plus size actor, I tended to be pigeonholed in the comedy scene.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not getting any real parts. I was like, I want to act. I want to act. I want to chew some scenery and cry and whatever, like this.
Sure.
And I wasn't getting roles like that at all, ever, never. I was the crazy neighbor. I was the funny friend. I was the wacky whatever. And it's fine. And I like playing those roles. They're very fun. I was disappointed that I wasn't getting called in for Law and Order. And I wasn't getting called in for the heavier things. And so I thought, okay, I could keep waiting and just make something by myself that kind of showcases that side of me, and so people will see it and go, oh, she can act. She's not just a comedian, she also do serious things. So that's why I made Jax in Love, my first film. I wrote what I consider to be the darkest thing I could come up with, and I was like, what do I really want to do? And I always wanted to do kind of a road trip thing, and I always wanted to do a woman kind of in a scary movie, but I never really considered it to horror until it actually went to the festivals, and people were like, this is a horror movie. It is.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to say I don't like horror. I'm very afraid of everything. And so for me, horror is scary. Scarier than maybe people who love horror and grew up watching horror. I grew up avoiding horror. I mean, I had seen Shining and Child's Play, and that was enough for me. And I was like, I don't want to horror movies, and they're scary. So when I made a horror movie, it was kind of random. Why would I, of all people, make a horror movie? Because I didn't think that I was. And when it kind of had success on the horror festival circuit, I was like, I'm going to make a movie that's on purpose. I'm going to go into it making a horror movie. And I thought, let me do that now that I've seen a lot of horror, because I went to all those festivals and watched the horror movies. So Boo was kind of born out of that. And I thought, I want to make something with creature, and I want it to be a monster, and I want it to be, Jax is scary just because she's a real person who's crazy, and that's always a little scary to see somebody lose their marbles a little bit. But I wanted to make something scary, in a fantastical way. Yeah. So that's kind of how Boo out. And then yes.
Yeah,
I'll keep talking. You have to stop me.
Sure, no, that's cool. That's cool. Basically, you made your own door, and then you knocked on it. You're
right. The problem though is that now I'm a director and a writer more than I am an actor. And not to say that that's a problem, but it wasn't my goal. My goal was to get more acting roles. And in a sense, now I've actually kind of halted my acting career because busy making movies and writing and doing things like that, that now I'm not focusing my acting career as a career. So it's a little frustrating because I kind of went into that reason. And look, some people will be happy to be like, oh, well, now you're a director. And I am, and I like directing and I like to write, but I don't love it the way some people do. Some people love directing. Some people love writing. I love acting. So I keep telling people, I'll stop making movies if you just put me in them. Like, put me in your movies, I'll stop making them. I don't need to make them. I don't want to make them.
Sure. Have you thought
I just want to be in them.
Have you thought about writing something that you think is really cool and handing it over to someone, say, look, please direct this, but I want to be in it?
Yes. And I problem with that is once I write it, I have a really hard time letting go of it. And I don't know how writers do that, where they write and they hand it off to somebody. It's like your baby. It's so hard on it. I don't want to just hand it to somebody else to do what they want with it. I'd really not care so much about the script to do that, I think.
Yeah.
But the fourth short that's kind of the script is circulating now, Killer Crush, there's not really a part in it for me. They're all majors. So I would actually get to direct this and just direct it. I think would be fun. To just really focus on the directing. Like Boo, I was directing and very busy starring in it and also producing it. So I was like, the crying is that's me. That's just me crying. I'm tired.
Yeah.
I don't know why I got myself into this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the best kind of acting. You know.
Oh, real. Like
it's real.
We cut and I kind of was like, they're like, are you okay? And I was like, just keep going. I just need a minute. So I was like, finally you can get it all out. But acting for me is very cathartic. When it's comedy, it's cathartic. It just feels good to emote and play and be somebody else. I love being somebody else.
Sure.
And just get out of yourself.
Especially if it's good, if it's a good script and everything else, of course, you can lose yourself in it. I mean, Boo's won quite a few awards, hasn't it? I mean, how long did it take to run? Was it like quite a small budget film? Did you crowdfund it? And then how was the
festival? I crowdfunded on Seed and Spark, which is a platform that not a lot of people know about, but it's a female-owned and run company and really set you up for success. Like they want you to make the money that you need. And they kind of you and make sure that you get everything set up the right way. I think we got $15,000. Obviously, after the fees and everything, I think we ended up $13,000. And I would say most of that all of it went to the production and the post-production itself. There was maybe a little over, but all of the festival submissions came out of my pocket. And it was a lot because I feel like if you're going to go through all that and do all that, and then you submit to 5 festivals, it's just like, why do that? Yeah. Why even bother? Why do it? And so I tried to save some of our budget for submissions specifically, which I didn't do the first time. I learned a lot of lessons from the first film. So I tried to save a couple of thousand, but then I also traveled to not all, but a good chunk of them. And that also was, it's $1,000 a trip at least to stay, to hotel, car, whatever. In 2019, I think I was going somewhere almost every week. I was like flying like crazy, and now I have a fear of flying, and now I can't seem to make it to any festivals because for some reason I'm like afraid of planes now.
Wow.
Maybe for all of the flying, I had some bad flights, and now I'm like afraid to plane for some reason. It's like that's because normally, I mean, I don't know, I'm not an expert, but normally if you've got a fear of flying, you've always had it. Or you're used to flying and you don't have it. I've not heard of
developed it?
I think I one or two flights that were really scary.
Yeah.
Like one that like the flight attendants for 6 hours didn't stand up because it was like going like this the
Wow.
whole time.
Sure.
And I honest to God thought we're gonna die.
That sounds bad.
And
Yeah.
I think that coupled with the fact that COVID happened right after, and then it was like I was afraid of the world for a long time.
Sure.
I think all of that just turned into some kind of phobia that I am really working on because I miss going to the festivals and the scripts are getting into fun. I can't go. I cannot get myself to go. And it's a very upsetting situation to be in.
Sure.
But yeah, so it won a lot of awards. It got into a lot of festivals. I think obviously them knowing about Jackson Love before kind of helped because they had an idea of who I was, what kind of work I do, etc. I wasn't just blindly submitting. Like Jax, I think got in 50% of the things that we submitted to because I had no idea, is this a real festival? Is it legit? Is it not? Is it the right festival for this film or is it not? And I submitted to a lot, but they were much more targeted. And I think we got into like 70% of the ones that I sent through.
That's good. That's good.
Which I think is really good. And it had a lot to do with knowing which fest I send it to, and is this gonna play there, and is it worth the money, and maybe somebody knew me from last year or whatever. So
do you think you've become a better actor from directing some of these shorts? Do you think you understand it in a different way than before?
I actually think for me, it's the other way around because I started as an actor. I think it makes me a better director. I actually think it makes me a better writer also. I get a lot of compliments usually on my dialogue, that it sounds real and whatever. And it's because I'm an actor, because I'm reading it out to myself and I know how it should sound and I know what's natural sounding as an actor. And I think a lot of writers would benefit from an acting class because they would see that some of their writing is not the way people talk. And I find myself sometimes when I get like, can I say it this way? Because this is like weird. It doesn't like come out right or it doesn't sound right. So I think whatever your position is, if you're a writer or an actor, to do one of those other things is going to make you better at that thing. You know, like I think I'm a better director because of the writing. I'm a better actor because of the acting, and vice versa.
I mean that makes perfect sense. And again, I think probably there should be more of a mixture of the different crafts, and you're not just
it's just some people are like, I'm a director, that's what I do, I can't act for shit. Probably can. If they say they can't, they probably can't. But they would benefit if you took an acting class or you tried to act a little bit. You might be able to talk to actors in a better way to like make it easier for them to understand what it is that you're trying to get them to do. I mean, I've had directors say to me like, you know, just like do it. And it's like, but what want me to do? Where is she coming from? Like, tell me more about the character, especially in an audition where you don't maybe have the whole script or you don't really know what's going on. You don't know the theme, you don't know the tone, you don't know any of that stuff. So I think
absolutely. Kind of to go on from what you just said about, you know, from some directors perhaps not knowing how to communicate with their talent. Your experience being a actress, and as you said before, it's like you were very much typecast into the certain sort of thing because you had a comedy background, and you're the funny friend or the funny neighbor, that sort of stuff. Do you see that changing? Do you think that's changed at all over the last couple of years? Do you think it is changing? What's your sort of experience with that?
The main problem is that if you don't look a certain way, for me, I wasn't getting leading roles. because I didn't look like a leading lady, whatever the F that means.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, I even had friends who were thin and beautiful, and they were told they're not leading lady because of one characteristic. Like they have really big ears, or their eyes are too wide set apart, or they're 5 pounds overweight, even though they're only 100 pounds, or whatever. Or they're too tall, or they're too this. And it's like, what do you want? You want us to mix these? I don't understand what it takes to be like a leading love interest or whatever. Luckily, that definitely does seem to be changing. As far as like who's a leading lady, who's getting the lead roles, what kinds of people. Everyone, even in commercials, I see it. It used to be like, to be in a commercial, you had to be beautiful. You could not be like, unless you were playing like a housewife that's like dumpy or something, you know what I mean? You couldn't just be like an average woman. But now I see women who have gaps in their teeth that are like, starring in a commercial, or overweight, or they're, or they're not white, which is great because that means that there's more opportunities. We should be representing people how they look, like top 1% of how people look. Like even those beautiful people they don't really even look like that. If you saw them on the street, they don't even really look like that. Them do, to be fair. Like I did a movie with Adam Sandler called Just Go With It. And Brooklyn Decker is in it. And that woman, I swear to you, looks like a person when you see her, like fake in the best way. Like she just looks like a Barbie doll, and she really does. Really, she's that beautiful. Like I met her and I'm like, oh, so you like really look like this. It's not makeup, it's not the camera, she's just gorgeous. But is she the norm? No. Like
absolutely.
You look around, the majority of people have flaws. I'm sure she does too. I just didn't see any. But it's nice to see people.
It's a strange thing, isn't it? And it's where I suppose television comes into play, because we've been bombarded with TV, both adverts and actual programs for decades, years and years, and streaming is the same. So it's kind of almost like, in terms of film, when they're trying to maybe cast people, it's like, well, what do people look like? And it's like, there's the studio look like, or out there in the street. It's very much like news, news in America, but the UK is, very similar. And the news people are given the daily news, they look a certain way, they're not kind of overweight. You never see overweight. Even overweight is the wrong word, but someone who's larger than the silhouette sort of version, or of a certain age, so you get to that certain point, it's like, well, you're not on TV anymore, that kind of thing. It's like, if you're writing stories about real people in real situations, then a lot of the time that person is going to be 50 something. It's going to be a 53-year-old woman who's had like 3 kids. Do you know what I mean? And not that sort of thing. It's like, where is it? I
mean, I even had a friend of, not a good, a friend of mine, when we did Boo, he was like, is it really realistic that your friend would be like that good looking, thing? And I was like, okay, well, first of all, I've had boyfriends that are very good in real life.
Sure, I'm sure you have.
And I see plenty of average looking dudes with gorgeous women all the time on television, especially all the time. Every sitcom ever has some dumpy guy and the most beautiful housewife he's ever had in his life. And I was like, first of all, ouch. And second of all, it's in real life, I have guys that gorgeous, and what is the deal? Like, why do I have to look a certain? And also, if not, I want to be the one who shows that's possible. Like,
sure.
That's okay. That's like a coupling that could happen. And why couldn't it happen? Why couldn't he be in love with her? In her case, she's also like a monster, but he doesn't know that. But still,
sure.
So yeah.
It is crazy, isn't it? And again, I've said this many times when I've been speaking to people, but it always seems to, from listening to what you're saying, always seems to be very, very prevalent, that the film industry, Hollywood, that sort of thing, has over the last few years have gone through, or is continued to go through, a kind of a process of sort of the trying to be more inclusive and involving lots of other people, but yet it seems to be only superficial, as in it doesn't always, or hasn't yet trickled down to all the other ways.
Not fully. It's getting there. It's getting better. Obviously, the shows were very white also, and that's changing, because that's what our world looks like in general. And I just wish it would come down to like, who's really the best person for that part. And just because they're okay or they don't have perfect something doesn't mean that somebody won't love them, or we can't believe that somebody loves them, or we can't believe that somebody would, out of their way for them, or that they would be successful or whatnot. And I was just like, I want to play these parts that nobody will give them to me.
Yeah, so, and age as well, isn't it? It's age. It's very much, again, even more so for women. I think I was saying the last conversation I recorded, with the idea of, if you look at something like Marvel or DC films, which have been massive in the last few years, it's like every female character in there is like late 20s, early 30s at a push. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like there's none of them are over like 35 years old, or if they have, they're hiding it, sort of thing, It's like
I think for women, there's more, now there's more roles for older women that are not just side roles, they're actually lead roles. But unfortunately, they're going to the same like actresses. That's the unfortunate part. If you're not Cate Blanchett, fucked, because you're not gonna get whatever. Hollywood is hard. It's hard. The film business is a hard situation to be in all around.
But that's why I think it's important for the indie. That's why I started the Film Dimension in the first place. I think that's why the indie filmmaker, the people that are making shorts and feature films as well, but outside of the sort of mainstream stuff, are so important, because literally you can do what the fuck you like. You can cast people in their 60s and 70s in
and you don't need to, you're not Answer Studio or a bunch of backers or anything like that, like big financial. I just the other day about Squid Game, which is like I love, on Netflix. I love the show, and it's like the #1 in 90 countries and blah, blah, blah. And it has not one famous, if you don't know Korean, I'm sure some of them are Korean famous, but if you don't know Korean media, I'm sure you don't know those people are.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Right. Given the right platform, it was very successful, and they didn't need to have Brad Pitt in it for it to make a lot of money successful. I'm sure, I bet anything they're going to try to make some kind of American freaking game and like ruin it. And they always do. They take stuff from the UK, they take stuff from Israel, and then they just ruin it. But like The Office, for instance. No, I like both Office. That was well done. I'll give it to them. That was pretty good. But yeah, so it's like indie people are doing it because they can't, and it's actually so much more interesting to watch, because you're not watching the same 15 actors do the same 15 roles, and every script is the same, and it's the same formula, and it all has the same producers, and they're just doing the same freaking thing over. Yeah, and remaking things they shouldn't be remaking a lot. And that's why the indie scene is, I don't know. Even before I started making stuff, I would go to like the art house theater, because I wanted to see those movies. I wanted to see that didn't have a lot of money, that were coming from other countries maybe, or were art house because it's only called art house because it didn't cost $40 million to make.
Or got
like
aliens.
Still just a regular movie. It's not. you know, but they were always more interesting and the castings were better. Sometimes the direction was more interesting, more artsy, more artful, and not so like cut and paste. Like now we have the wide shot, now we have a medium shot, now we have a wide. Like I went to film school. We learned about like other things. Use them.
Absolutely. It doesn't always have to follow the same stamp, the same like machine.
I guess it does when you're worried about millions of dollars on the line. I don't know what that kind of pressure feels like.
But likewise. But so before I let you go, because I know you're busy and everything else, I suppose, where do you see, from your point of view, because you know you've experienced film festivals, directing, writing, where do you see independent film going in the next, say, 4 or 5 years? Obviously now pandemic is kind of starting to sort of ease up a little bit, but what do you think is in the future for independent filmmaking?
I think it's a good time for independent because there's so many platforms. So, and there was like 7 channels and 4 studios, and it's like the chances of being to one of those things or making a feature and having it play where anybody could ever see it is like unheard of. But now you can make a feature for a couple $100,000, and if you get the and it's good enough, it can play on Netflix, it can play on Hulu. So I'm hoping that because of the increase in places for this to live, that there's more spots for people that are making things cheaper or making things not attached to some kind of a studio, and having people get to see them. Although now I feel like I'm a little bit in a, because now I have a lot of film festival friends. So it's like all my friends are really into short films and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, because I'm in this bubble. Whereas maybe the average person somewhere is like, I don't even know what a short film means. I don't know what that is.
A lot of, look, I've got lots of friends who like going to the cinema, like seeing James Bond and DC stuff and Marvel stuff, that would probably say they never watch short films. But when I've kind of said, look, watch this particular one, if there's one that I think is really, really good, you know, they enjoy it. And, you know, even if it's like a long short film for 20 minutes, well, they'll watch an episode of something on Netflix for 20 minutes. So it's not like,
if it's good,
if it's good,
they'll watch it, they'll like it, you know. It's just a matter of, are they being exposed to it? In your case, you're exposing it, so that's good. Some people have no one who's exposing that kind of to them. I remember Boys Don't Cry with Hilary Swank was like one of my favorite movies. I considered not a studio film. It was made very cheaply and independent, and so many people didn't see such a great film because it didn't have the promotion that it needed. I wish people would promote like what you're doing. I wish more people would promote the smaller things, because if they were promoted, people would watch them, and I think people would like them.
I think so, because there's such a range of films being made, you know, all around the world. You know, there's a tremendous amount of people from Italy at the moment making some really interesting stuff. You know, in the UK, just outside of London, lots of really interesting stuff, obviously.
Yeah, I'm jing for a festival right now, and I've been watching hours and hours of shorts, but like there was a few, like one was from Poland, and it was a student film, and it was a 20, and it looked amazing. The script had a little bit to be desired, but it looked so fantastic. And for it to be a student film, especially coming from where I'm assuming this person does not have a whole lot of money, and who knows where they had to do what they're doing and what kind of a school, and it's amazing. Also because of equipment, it's easier now. Like we're not shooting on film. If we were shooting on film, none of us could have, because when I was in college, we were shooting on film, because that's how old I am. And it's expensive, and I was cutting film like with a scissor. I was cutting it and taping it together and running it through a thing. And if we had to do that, nobody would be
unless you're Christopher Nolan, then you know, he just still does film. But yeah, I get what you mean. If you could go back and speak to your younger self when you were first getting into acting, what would you tell yourself?
To myself, when I started
your
acting.
Younger self. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. That's a really hard question. I guess I would tell myself to go for it because I was in success. It's a weird for that question to come up for me just because I miss acting so much right now. I used to have like a career in acting, and now I don't because I've spent so much time as a filmmaker the last years that I haven't really.
Okay. What would you tell yourself when you were directing your first short film? What would
a lot of things.
Now, yeah, what would you tell yourself?
I'd be like, don't trust this person, and that person's not really your friend. No, I would definitely tell myself like the things that I ended up learning, you know, like you don't need to spend a lot of money on this. You don't need this. This is too long. Cut this shorter. Maybe I would have directed my first film, which I didn't, because I mean, we had a director. I definitely had a whole lot of influence on it because my film, but I was like, I don't know anything about directing. I would have directed it. I would have gone back and been like, you can do it. You basically were doing it, just do it. I would have more confidence in myself, I guess. Because especially in the very beginning, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know how to make anything. I didn't know anything about anything. Even though I went to film school, I still felt nothing, which is a good commercial for film school. You don't need it. And I know how to like dissect a film. I just didn't know how to make one. Yeah. So I don't know. I would tell myself to be more confident and to like know that I can do it, and that people who know a lot less than me are doing it and doing it well. And you know, anyone can do it, really can do it. Now, some people are going to have better products than other people, but if you want to, if it's something that's meaningful to you and like important to you, it's going to be good to some degree because it's got that meaning behind it. Even if it doesn't look great or doesn't sound great or whatever. I don't know. For me, it's more about the script. I don't care if it looks like a Hollywood, if the script is bad or the acting is bad, then it really doesn't matter because it could look beautiful and be not good.
Sure. No,
I'd rather it be a great script and great acting and shot it on your iPhone. Like that for me would be better to watch.
I think obviously there's been a fair few amount of people certainly within lockdown have made short films on their iPhones. And you know the technology standard is really good now. I think if you've got a really good script and the person performing is capable, I think you can make a really, really good film. You know, I've seen technically really good films, short films, that you just think it's such a shame they didn't develop the story because it doesn't go anywhere or the character's unbelievable, all that sort of thing. So yeah, it starts with the script. You know, if you've got a good script, then you can make a good film.
But if you have bad actors, man, it doesn't matter if it's like the best script in the world because they will not do it. For me, it's the acting and the script, everything, which is also in a sense the directing, right? Because a good director isn't going to let a bad performance by them. They're not going to hire somebody who's not a good performer. Like, unfortunately, I wish I could say everybody, but it's not true. It's just not true. Everybody cannot act. I know I can't edit. I haven't had a light. I have no idea how to do a lot of things. And I don't try to because that's not my thing. So I don't do them. So if you're not an actor, don't do it. Don't do it. Go do what you're really good at. Do something else. So yeah.
I think that
sounds mean.
No, it's very, very wise and it's very, very true. I want to thank you for speaking to us because we had some technical problems before, so this is the second time, but it's been really good. I want to thank you for that. We're going to add Boo onto the Film Dimension for
Cool.
our Halloween build-up. So hopefully I'll be promoting this with that. So I just want to thank you very much for your time today. Of course, how do people contact you, follow you, speak to you? Whatever?
You can see on my there. If you go to meetmyboo.com, you'll see some Jack stuff. I have to update it with my new projects. And on Instagram, Kef827 or @Cyclamen Films. I can send you these links, have them written.
Cool. Yeah, I'll add them.
Yeah, Rakefet Abergel, Cyclamen Films. You can also look up Boo short film if you want to look up Boo stuff, or Jackson Love. And I'm on Twitter. I'm never on Twitter. Like, it's there, but I really rarely look at it because it's too information all at once. It's just it comes at you so fast. Yeah, I know it's very easy with a name like Rakefet Abergel. It's almost impossible to not find me, which is not great in the world, but it's fine. And you can find me on all those things. Boo is playing also, but soon it'll be playing on your website, which is really exciting.
Thank you.
I just want people to see it. I'm just glad to have more people see it because I worked really hard on it and I want it to mean something in the world.
Sure.
I think
it will.
Yeah.
It will.
And I'll be soon running for my next project, so hopefully people will want to donate, and because we can't do this without money, unfortunately. And
it's a big part of it. It is a big part of it. It's like a
really big part of it, a part that I don't like at all because I'm not a businessman, so it's like money. Sure. I'm like, just money from somewhere. There's money, and I can just do things. But yeah, and yeah. I don't know. Oh, I also there's a behind the scenes food, which is actually really good. It's 5 minutes. A friend edited it and made it, and it has interview cast. And I can send you a link to that.
Yeah, please do. That would be awesome.
It's actually done on its own. He did a great job of making a little featurette kind of a thing.
Cool. No, please do. I'd love to see that as well. Right. Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was nice to meet you.